Scholars like Carter G. Woodson and Melville Herskovitz have helped us understand the Africanisms present amongst Afro-descended people in the Americas. Lorenzo Turner helped us identify words that have survived and have become a part of everyday Afro-American vernacular, specifically found amongst the Gullah Geechee people. He also helped us realize that certain habits, such as dances, chants, and shouts, also remain in our culture today of Afro-descended people. The little things we take for granted, seen throughout our everyday lives, may be a product of Africa. For example, the practice of shouting in church and singing for almost all occasions can be seen as cultural mannerisms inherited from the motherland. The Yoruba people taken to Brazil, along with many other African ethnic groups, left their mark in South America. Yoruba influence on Brazil is easily identifiable, as this particular ethnic group left their mark on the social institutions, arts, and religious values of the country. The Yoruba religion has had a unique impact on the spiritual life of many Brazilians. This African cosmology was transported nearly intact from Africa straight to Brazil. The enslaved Yoruba, then influenced by Catholicism, began to blend these religions together. Interestingly enough, the introduction of Catholicism did not eradicate Yoruba's spirituality, but was simply absorbed into it. The enslaved Yoruba of Brazil identified their deities with the saints of the Catholic faith. This blend was the birthplace of Afro-Brazilian religion. Other Africans, such as the various Central African ethnic groups and Africans from the Gold Coast, contributed to this spiritual or religious incorporation as well. At the heart of Afro-Brazilian culture was Bahia, because this was one of the few places where Yoruba religion was best preserved in the form of candomblé. The worship of the Yoruba Orishas in Bahia takes place in a temple known as tereros, and the altars dedicated to the Orisha are called pejis. Unfortunately, in rural areas, Yoruba culture and religion found it difficult to survive because it was perceived as a threat, but in the urban areas, it was able to thrive. Enslaved Africans were granted permission to perform at public festivals, garbed in their African costumes, singing their African songs, and performing their African dances. The adherents of candomblé today worship the Yoruba Orishas and don't consider it a contradiction that they also identify as Catholics. We find the Yoruba god Obatala as the greatest of all the saints, represented by the image of Jesus Christ. Shango is another powerful Orisha in Brazil, the Yoruban god of lightning and storm. He has been associated with Saint Jerome in northern Brazil and with the wife of Saint Jerome, Santa Barbara, in Rio de Janeiro. Ogun, another Orisha of great popularity, is a deity of war and strife in the Yoruba myth. His image is that of Saint George in Rio de Janeiro and that of Saint Anthony in Bahia. The goddess Yamanja has developed a numerous following throughout Brazil. The Virgin Mary, in her various forms, is generally associated with this water goddess. Even though Yoruba religion has survived amongst Afro-descended people in Brazil, it's of course slightly altered. Very few candomblés carry out in full all the steps and phases of the sacred Yoruba initiation rites, and the majority of initiates in Brazil are women. Many of these women have gained social recognition as powerful intermediaries of the Orishas. This elevation of women is not necessarily mirrored amongst the Yoruba in Africa, and it may have occurred in Brazil due to men and women sharing the same status as enslaved people, keeping both in powerless positions. So it's interesting to see how outside forces may have played a role in shaping the structure of the religion itself. Although many of the Afro-Brazilian religions were looked down upon, today, candomblé and other Afro-Brazilian religions gain significant increase in social acceptance, even on a national level. Brazilian literature, music, and art have all been impacted by Yoruba religion and cosmology, and it's one of the reasons why Brazil is seen as a unique